Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Reporting. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at some players that stocks are going up and some stocks are going down. Now, I usually like to do a segment called Winners and Losers right after when the silver and black play. This, I'm looking forward because guess what? The only thing on my mind, the San Francisco 49ers. And not only do I want our team on the field to take them down, I'm trying to take them down on YouTube as well. I would say our three biggest channels here at Chat Sports: Cowboys Report, Raiders Report, 49ers Report. And this week, we're losing our sub battle. I'm not losing to the 49ers. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you pull up Saturday because we're going to take them down on the field and we're going to take them down here on YouTube. So the way that this show is scheduled, the way that this one is scripted out, I'm going to first look at some players who stocks up, stocks down on the offensive side of the football, and then I'm going to look at the defensive side of the football. Let's first, though, go to the offense. And I mean, you knew I had to talk about Cam Miller and Miller time when you're discussing stocks up because the rookie sixth-rounder from North Dakota State showed out, balled out in that preseason game against Seattle. 6-7. He was able to stretch the ball down the field. A nice 41-yard touchdown to Shedrick Jackson. Unfortunately, though, Aidan O'Connell, you probably got to put him as stock down. I'm not sitting up here saying that means Aidan's quarterback 2 or Aidan's quarterback 3 and Miller's the quarterback 2. I am simply saying that Miller's stock right now, after having a solid training camp, after having a good preseason, is trending in the right direction. And maybe we got to light a little bit of a fire underneath Aidan O'Connell's butt because this is going to be a big week for him. It's going to be a big week for every single Raiders player going in with joint practices. And there have been rumors for the past few weeks saying that Cam Miller has been outplaying and has been outperforming Aidan O'Connell. We've also been hearing that he's just a better fit in the Chip Kelly offense. And it's really kind of a difficult thing to be able to wrap my mind around because I do think AOC should be the quarterback too because he's had to deal with a lot of different moving parts, head coaches, OCs, different teammates, different wide receivers, and I want that to be into consideration. But going into the second preseason game, Cam Miller's stock is up and AOC's is going down. Let's look at another position here. I'm going to go to the wide receiver room. Alex Bachman, who really has been used as the Raiders' number 5 wide receiver behind Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Jack Besh, and Dante Thornton Jr. Now, the Raiders, they went out, they drafted Tommy Mellott, the former quarterback from Montana State, the FCS Heisman Trophy winner, touchdown Tommy. They drafted him to be that number 5 wide receiver. They also drafted him to get a little bit more out of special teams, punt return, kick return. If you watch that preseason game, and if you've been following this show and a lot of the reports that have been coming in around a lot, he's just getting buried on that wide receiver depth chart, and they have essentially taken every single special teams opportunity away from him. I mean, there was early reports that he was going to be the lead punt returner, the lead kick returner. Well, guess what? He's now down there at the number 4 spot, behind Alex Bachman, behind Sincere McCormick, Dylan Laube, and Trey Tucker as well. I mean, they're even putting Ashton Jeanty, which I think is just more of it's the off-season. They're just trying to put Jeanty in certain situations. I'll tell you this right now. If Ashton Jeanty walks out onto the field for a punt return, I'm going to lose my effing mind, right? Like, it's cool to try to get the ball in his hands in the preseason. Cool to try to get his ball in the hand in the training camp. Regular season Ashton Jeanty taking punt returns? No. Now, I am kind of getting off track here a little bit, but bottom line, Bachman continues to show out. Tommy Mellott's stock, unfortunately, is dropping down. One of the things that I love to do every time I pull up here on the Raiders Report, I ask you guys a question. This is going to be the pinned comment, which means right when you click on this video, the very first question underneath it, it's going to be this. So if you're watching, I want to know your answer. Who's a Raiders player whose stock is on the rise? Let me know down below. You're about to get it with the YouTube ad break. My answer coming up after this. Obviously, we got a bunch of different names on here. One name that's not featured in this video that I do want to say his stock is going up, Jamal Adams. I really do think that he's going to end up being a starter, and he seems like maybe he should have been a linebacker for many, many seasons and not just the safety. Let's go to the offensive line, the big boys on the interior, and it was really, let me emphasize this, really difficult to find an offensive player whose stock was going up for the silver and black on the offensive line just because of how poor they played up against Seattle. With that being said, stock down, it's got to be Thayer Munford Jr. in my book. Now, I'll tell you this. I don't even think Antonio Mafi played all that well against Seattle, but it sometimes doesn't matter what I think. Sometimes it doesn't matter what you think. What I do know is Mafi was getting first-team reps at right guard during Sunday's practice. The Silver and Black did not practice on Monday. So I look at that and I go, all right, well, somebody that was kind of just signed, somebody that when the initial depth chart got released, they put Mafi as the 4th. Like, he wasn't in the number 2s. He wasn't with the 3s. He was on number 4. But Caleb Rogers was not good against the Seahawks. Alex Kappa and JPJ have been dealing with a minor rib injury. But for a player who has not been slotted in with the 2s, not been slotted in with the 3s, and now getting work with the 1s, that to me tells me that his stock is going up. And another very important thing that you got to mention here is Mafi played college football at UCLA when Chip Kelly was there. We know how important coaching relationships are, and I almost wonder if the Raiders are, a little bit in this flux of, I don't really know what we have at the offensive line. Does Chip go, hey, this is a guy that I know I worked with before, and we just need to get him a little bit more reps? Because if there's one thing that I do know, I didn't think it was possible for Thayer Munford's stock to get any lower than what it is right now. But he had a 36.6 overall PFF grade in that Seattle game, and quite frankly, when you watch the game, he's lucky to get a 36.6 overall PFF grade because it was really, really tough to watch. Coming up next here on the show, though, I want to look at some players on the defensive side of the football that stocks are going up and stocks are going down. Here's one deal, though, that the stock seems like it's going up because we got some awesome Raiders gear on sale. Whether you're looking for a t-shirt, a hoodie, I saw some cutoff short sleeve hoodie looking things. There were hats, there were women's apparel, there's kids apparel, there is brand new shorts. These shorts are usually $50. I know, a little expensive for shorts. Now you can get it for $30. That sounds like a pretty damn good deal. What about this pullover here? This is 50% off depending on what size you want. Also this, basically 50% off. My point is if you go to this link that you see down here below, chatsports.com/Raiders sale. I'm going to say it again in case you were, not paying attention. Chatsports.com/Raiders sale. This link will be down in the comments. It will be down in the description. If you took advantage of all the jerseys that we were giving away essentially on sale, you're going to love this as well. I don't know what you guys like. I don't know what sizes you can wear. But if you like sales, you like stuff on deals, chatsports.com/Raiders sale. Let's go to defense, stock up and stock down. The first player that I'm going to bring up here, it's got to be Terrell Edmunds. The Raiders signed him over the weekend, and essentially, this is somebody that you got to pay attention to. Also, you could say Chris Smith, and I'm going to be real. I'm going to probably tie Chris Smith and Trey Taylor into the mix here for just overall their stocks being down. I say that because with the Raiders going out and getting Edmunds on Sunday, I do wonder if the Silver and Black are looking at what they did with Jamal Adams, and they're like, well, Jamal's kind of been really having a bit of a resurgence here. Can we do the same with Edmunds? I also look at it as you got to see what teams do. And when Lonnie Johnson Jr. went down with the injury, even though he is expected to come back week 4 and week 5, the Raiders said, all right, Chris Smith, let's see what you can do. They put him out there for the most snaps out of any player on defense, and he struggled. Trey Taylor was drafted in the 7th round, not by this regime, and he really struggled against Seattle. 35.2 overall PFF grade. So I think because of Trey Taylor's struggles, because of Chris Smith's struggles, I look at that and I go, well, Terrell Edmunds, his stock's got to be up, and this is going to be a player that I think gets a lot of run in this preseason game against the 49ers. Also, you got Harper over there who they've been kind of using as this safety nickel hybrid. He played in only one snap against Seattle. So I really, really believe that Terrell Edmunds' stock is going up against the 49ers. Let's go to the nickel cornerback spot. I'm going to look at Kai Blue Kelly, and unfortunately for Darnay Holmes, his stock is going down. But for Holmes, it's not only because Kai Blue, it's also because of the work that Greedy Vance has been putting in during training camp, during the Raiders mock game, and Pete Carroll's been giving a lot of praise because whether you could say what you want about Greedy, Greedy's a freaking dog, dude. And he is not afraid to show you exactly the type of physicality he can bring. He might only be 5'9 and 5'10, but I'm telling you this right now, if I saw that guy in a dark alley, I'm not going down that alley. And you also got to give credit to Kai Blue Kelly, somebody who struggled early on in that Seahawks game. But you're going to look here at this PFF grade of an 83.6 overall. That was second highest on the Las Vegas Raiders, behind only Jamal Adams. What I love about Kai Blue was he got picked on. If you go back and you watch that film, he got picked on the first 2 plays when he was targeted. After that, makes 2 really clutch pass breakups, and I think just showed, you know what? I might bend, but you're not going to break me. And I think that type of mentality really resonates with Pete Carroll. And if you were to tell me right now, out of all the corners that are listed at number ones, I think we would all agree that Darnay Holmes is probably the odd man out, despite him having that coaching connection with Patrick Graham. Another stock up. It is out in Tucson, Arizona. And if you're trying to get on board, if you want to hang out with me on Friday, August 22nd, it's the day right before the Raiders' final preseason game up against the Arizona Cardinals. I am going to be out at Desert Shark Tucson. It is a restaurant owned and operated by the Bang MVP for the month of June and for the month of July. Or no, maybe it was May. Either way, my guy Fabian Moreno, he's been banging a bunch here on the show. Here's the address. Here's the when. That's the where. If you want to hang out with me, you want to have some beers, you want to have some food, chop it up, talk a little Raiders. The more fans we get here, the longer I'm going to be. That sounds like a stock up if you're asking me. Let's go to the final stock up here on the defensive side of the football. I'm going to go with defensive tackle Thomas Booker, which means, unfortunately, stock down for John Olalu. And if you wanted to just say overall stock down on this Raiders defensive line, you absolutely could. Because for me, when you saw the Raiders lose Christian Wilkins, that was going to be a kick in the nuts no matter how you shake it out. Leki Fotu, now in a walking boot. Fotu was the person filling in for Wilkins early on. So what did the Raiders do? They said, all right, let's give more opportunities to Zach Carter, Tonka Hemingway, and even the UDFA tank Booker from SMU. They were getting some ones with the ones at practice on Sunday. And because they were getting runs with the ones, that's kind of a bad sign there for John Olalu, who really struggled this past week up against Seattle. Thomas Booker, on the other hand, I love what I saw from him. I had him as my number one biggest winner from that Seahawks game because not only was he getting first-team reps, he was really putting in that work against the Seahawks, and I love the interior pressure he was able to get. Then you look at John Olalu's side. I hate saying a player was terrible, but I'm just telling you this right now. If my kids ever walk home and they have a 28.7 grade, it's not going to go on the fridge. I'll tell you that. I'm going to probably look at them like, that's terrible. You need to study more. I know Olalu can be a good player, but at the end of the day, I hope people watch this show because I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And John Olalu was bad. And the fact that Carter, Tonka, and Tank Booker are playing better, the fact that now you go out and you trade for Thomas Booker, Booker stocks up, Olalu stocks down. The good part is, it's only the preseason. And all these players that I'm talking about stocks down, go into this Week 2 game against the 49ers and prove me wrong. For everybody's with the stock up, let's keep it moving here because the only way that we're going to get better as an overall football team and as an organization is if we keep on stacking the minor wins together. So, offensive stock up, I got Cam Miller, Alex Bachman, and Antonio Maffi. For stock down, AOC, Tommy Mellott, Thayer Munford. On the defensive side of the football, the newly signed Terrell Edmunds, Kai Blue Kelly, and then defensive tackle Thomas Booker. For stock down, Chris Smith / Trey Taylor, Darnay Holmes, and John Olalu. If you made it this far in the video, I guess I got to be doing something halfway decent around here. You can always give me a follow on Instagram and on Twitter at MitchellRens365. And if you do not know, I'm going to be live later on today, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. I better see you there.